My name is Fred Lonberg-Holm, and this is an installation at the Lincoln Park Conservatory in Chicago. The series is called Florasonic. When I had an opportunity to do one, I thought it'd be nice to maybe have some other sort of interaction between the sound and the light as opposed to the plants and the light. And so it's sort of audio manifestation of what's going on for a plant, maybe. There weren't that many general public at the opening. You know, that's pretty much standard. But no, the great part was it was sort of like everybody's always hoping they'll be in a Buñuel film, I guess, or when Buñuel was alive. But it was my chance to be in a kind of surrealistic moment. The piece, as we've already talked about, is entirely light-dependent and light-based, and the opening was at 4 o'clock. And when was that? In December sometime. And so obviously there was almost no light at that point at all. And so when people started to show up, the last sounds, one of the things over here was just getting a little bit of electricity still. So, and it was dying out, and there was just basically nothing. And so people were showing up, and I was, welcome to the opening. Well, where's the piece? Well, you know, it's all around you. Well, I don't hear anything. Well, there's nothing to hear right now. You should come back sometime on a sunny day, which today is not even, but definitely come back during the day. And so basically a bunch of people, most of whom I knew, all stood around and kind of stared at each other like, well, it's great to be here at a party together, and there's a free table with some juice. They can't have alcohol, I think, in the park department buildings. So there was no free wine even, anyway. And it was kind of, yeah, classic moment. Well, I knew I wanted to scatter things around, and I spent a fair amount of time in the room before I started installing it, just thinking and looking at the access points that I had. Unfortunately, the only real access that I have to this side is through this path here that we went up, and then I have to climb along the heater pipes to get to other locations. Except for there's that one little landing that I was using as kind of a base station to do the final soldering and connecting of the different components. Surprises are weird because I'm only surprised when I have a preconceived idea. I mean, that's basically, I think, surprise is sort of the non-fulfillment of a preconceived idea, or when you have sort of an architecture, a logic that somehow you expect to result in one thing and results in another. And so when you do a thing like this, I think it's pretty essential to try not to have too many preconceived ideas of what's going to be like, and then you're not surprised, at least not in the bad way. You know, if I'm surprised at all, they're about how generous people have been in terms of both helping me build these things, you know, giving me advice and talking me through aspects, or just letting me be here and do this. I wanted to originally have everything super self-contained, so that there would just be these little packages that would have the solar cells, the light-sensitive resistors, and the rest of the components, and the speaker, and maybe a little amplifier, all just in one little unit. And then I could just place the units in different spots. But there's not enough light down on the ground to drive the things, so I had to immediately break up the power sources, and they're up on the steel beams right under the windows, still not too distant from where the rest of the sort of the activity is. But then also, if I wanted to have the sounds come from other places, then along the back or that one landing, then I had to separate out again the speaker from the circuit board. So that was one thing that kind of separated. And then the other thing was that I didn't really realize until I started spending time here how intensely watered this place is every day. And so I had to make everything more waterproof than I would have maybe expected. And I have to also take into account that I know a couple of them have been damaged to a certain degree by water. And, you know, I'm just lucky. Actually, the piece has been up for about 4 months. It's closing next week, and it's still doing 90% of what it should do, especially under the light conditions right now. I can't complain at all. I'd have to come on a really bright day, which I was here about 2 weeks ago on I was here Easter weekend, and it was sunny, very sunny, and things were humming and squeaking and buzzing quite well. So the hardest part of the installation was just the amount of time. I spent maybe 25, 30 hours, really climbing around in here, spread out over a week of, long days. Get here when they opened and stay until it was too dark to work anymore. It was December, so, 4 o'clock. It was more of a time drain than I thought it would be. And building the units was a lot of fun, but moving them around and figuring out where I can get enough light to have some sort of effect close to what I wanted. And I had to tune a couple other things and just run a lot of wire. I guess my biggest surprise was I didn't realize how much time I was going to have to put into it to get it to come together.